Ladies and gentlemen, how you all doing? This is Con Ulrich.
And I'm Mangru. Hello, hello, hello.
And we promised you it on Tuesday. We are making good on our promise. We're on Chedron today, giving you another replay from the SD2 second charity tournament. Rang, who do we have on this field?
On the left-hand side in the blue, we have AS playing as the second First Nations Indigenous Division with a Maverick income. And on the right-hand side in the red, we have Ortfredrinka playing as the first Polish Infantry Division, also with a Maverick income.
So you might notice that we have called the second infantry division over here to the left a slightly different name. It is an evolving thing, and we want to correct the mistakes made in the past. So from here on out, at least for this particular replay, I'll be calling the second First Peoples Division, and Rang being from the uncivilized north, we'll call them the indigenous peoples, I imagine.
Yeah, we're trying to be politically correct here on our Steel Division 2 cast as we watch people blow each other up in a World War II setting. But speaking of the match, I mean, both these are pretty strong infantry divisions, and it's really I think gonna come down to Southern Town Fight, as by God, it's getting hot already. The tanks need to keep desanting from the trucks.
Yes, it is, and not for nothing though. I mean, flame troops over here from the second First Peoples, were definitely able to take out the half tracks, which is not something I've seen happen very often.
Yeah.
But it is certainly hot time in the old town tonight, as the dissents are a lot of dissent among their own lines, I imagine. But not to be outdone, they are certainly pushing back those rifle squads. And this is the second replay this week. We're seeing lots of rifles. How is that going to shape up against the first Poles?
First Poles can match up pretty well to that. They also have a lot of rifles with their Streltsky spam, which they can keep up with, and especially in the current meta, rifles, just cheap rifle spam is the way to go, so it should be pretty even Stevens. But so far, yeah, Orta's making pretty good progress down south here, clearing out the good southern chunk of the town. Now he just needs to deal with the rest of the northern half here. Those Ranger LMGs are going to try and keep the Streltskys at bay. We'll see how they do. I'm curious to see how the M1919s fare up to South Veterancy compared to the Streltsky DP Scrotch.
The biggest problem with this is that the T-34E, there's nothing to be done about that. That can just be brought up right next to the building, and then they'll just shellac them. I confess I was looking to the north as there are a brace of Shermans, and actually we have a couple of those T-30 howitzers, those mobile gun carriages, basically moving through the center. While things are certainly seem to be a reversal for the 2nd Infantry anywhere but the north, they're certainly being quite considerable here. And geez, the Ranger Marauders are picking off 2 infantry squads in trucks, one after the other. I forgot how deadly those Zooks are.
Yeah, they can be pretty nasty business, of course, and being able to sneak him up. I mean, down south it is just not looking good for AS at all. He is just the PPS-8 is getting in close, is killing up all the infantry. And of course, one of the big problems with 2nd Indigenous Division is that you don't have a whole lot of infantry-based anti-tanks. So those T-34s running around the town are really going to have to be countered by a few bazookas, Stuarts. They're not going to do that great. Mainly Shermans and bazookas.
Yeah, and that's an awful lot. I mean, the Shermans are great because they do have those gun stabilizers, but I don't know how effective that's going to be really overall. And these Stuarts even more outmatched.
Yeah, the Stuarts are just, I mean, they're great as infantry support because they do have the 2 machine guns, which is nice, but the problem with Stuarts is they only have 7 rounds a minute compared to the 12 rounds a minute that the Pak-36 or Russian 45mm guns have. It's pretty pathetic. I mean, the T-34 has 6 rounds a minute and it's a much larger gun, but the Sherman coming in trying to fight the T-34, but it's going to be actually a little bit hard for the Sherman because these are the T-34Es, which have pretty decent armor.
But not to be outdone, we are going to see that the Sherman up on the hilltop is going to go and take out the offending Soviet. And one thing we didn't really talk about was the air power. IL-2s will be the order of the day today.
Yeah, classic Polish air power supremacy is what they have. What AS is really not that heavy. I mean, we're not even seeing Gabi Khan. You have to take Gabi in the 2nd Indigenous. It's just what you have to do. It's like mandated by law, I believe, somewhere.
Yeah, that's true. Hey, if you have the gift of gab, you want to use it. I
You
completely
really
agree.
do. But yeah, he's mainly focusing more on those P-38s and thunderbolts to try and just strike the enemy ground forces. So he's sticking to thunder and lightning.
Well, we did see a P-47 come down south, and he did pound basically those Carney troops. Um, but big deal. You hit a disheartened squad. Like that's not gonna go and break the bank anytime soon.
Yeah. Just looking down south, oh, it just has a lovely position on that town. He controls mainly the two central flag points, and he's just bringing up a bunch of reinforcements, so Strafniki troops to just hold a line against any future aggressions. We are seeing the Stuarts being brought in, giving some nice fire support, but once those T-34s actually decide to come around the corner, there's not going to be many Stuarts.
Yep, it probably will be, I'd say Custer's last stand, but that's absolutely incorrect here. And geez, yeah, one of them going down instantly. What about the artillery piece? What can the second First Peoples do against that? I mean, we have not pack howies, excuse me, 105s in Phase B. We have off maps in Phase B. We have mortars, like maybe stovepipe. Is that the right call, maybe?
Yeah, it's actually quite funny. It's pretty light in the artillery department. I'm not seeing any xylophones or heavy field howitzers, and more importantly, even just 60mm mortars, which are just deadly in town fights because they do have the radio trait. He does have the 81 mils, which are pretty damn good, of course, because they also have radios. But I definitely feel like good mortar play, I mean, of course, it's not in the meta, but with 2nd Infantry, they kind of surpass the meta in that regard, because the radioed mortars are just ridiculously good at just knocking out enemy infantry targets, because they do have the profligation, I can't say that properly, of radios with your Western allies. They're just all talking to each other on the radio,
Man, they don't have TikTok, they had to do something.
Oh, yeah.
Bit of a infantry reinforcement. Half-track zooming up here. Probably going to be engaged in these Carnies. And you know what? I want to hate on disheartened troops, but the Carnies having a PTRD addresses half the problem I have with disheartened troops.
Yeah, I mean, the Strafniki are disheartened troops, which kind of transcend disheartenedness because of just how beefy they are. Yeah, the PTRD, the 3 DPs, they are a very damn nice squad.
They certainly seem to be. Unfortunately, they are outnumbered quite a bit.
Yeah.
Biggest concern, though, now there's 2 T-34s to the north, and there's only a single Sherman being moved in, and there's Stuart. So as good as this push was to take that hilltop, ain't gonna go anywhere for a bit.
Yeah, and just as we're seeing the T-34 dominance, especially with the veterancy from the leader, is making them killing machines. The riflemen can't do anything because they don't have any bazookas. The motorized riflemen are the ones who hogged all of them. And the Stuart can't do anything as well. He can bring in Shermans, but it's just going to be an even matchup. It's not going to be a definite victory against T-34s.
No, that's a weird thing. Actually, I don't see any motorized rifles, really.
Oh, he doesn't. It's like 3rd US division.
Yeah, but you know what? But even as infantry division, I'm sorry, I should have precluded this. One of the things I kind of thought of that on 3rd, 4th, 18th pass of it, I am surprised that was never really included.
You mean just like 1 card of motorized rifles?
Yeah, like, anything really, because I mean the half tracks are such a heavy preponderance of it, and I hate to go and say because historically, because I feel at that point I need to start pushing my glasses up my nose, but it's just a very very surprising things way back when. IL-2 in the meantime coming in, pounding one of those M1919s, and that's a bit of a problem because that was probably the best way to interdict any of this, I don't want to say Soviet, but Polish material going from east to west here.
Yup, and just Orsa's really building up deadly walls of angry Poles. I mean, down south we just have the T-34 Strafniki blob, and up north we have T-34s in the Strafniki blob, and they are just clearing through that forest here. I mean, at this point, AS's best bet is probably just he needs to get some Wolverines on the field, some Hellcats. That's really one of the strengths that he does have, because it was a pretty nice anti-tank unit. Well, yeah, the Poles only has that 1 card of SU-85s, which are his real only heavy anti-tank in that deck. It's all just T-34s and other 76mm gun carriers.
Well, you know what? They're both into Phase B now, so looking on the opposite side, rhinos are now a thing.
And oh yeah, the rhinos would be a pretty good choice as well. The extra armor would definitely make it a bit more beefy against those T-34s here. I also think, as we didn't really mention it, but just that central push through the lungs here is also given all that very nice positioning.
I think he's trying to lure in that T-34. There's one thing, PP shots are terrifying at less than 150 meters and less than 100 meters, but outside of that, heck, I can stick basics in there and it'd be more than enough, excuse me, to take him out.
Seen a bit of air power here from AS. Dropping run bomb on the Z3, but not getting the full kill, and his P-38 has 2 bloody big runs, so let's see who he decides to nuke. Is nuking a T-34? Will it be the kill?
Nah.
No, this isn't Red Storm. I think it hit the infantry. That was the target. T-34s are just an array.
Oh, absolutely. Stormtroops be moved on to the Stromoviki, the Polish Stromoviki moving in. Of course, they're going to get the surrender, or they're going to get the kill. I can't see them really making it out. There we go. Zook being moved in opportunistically in the lungs, and unfortunately not able to get any kind of kill there.
Yeah, the infantry covering is going to keep our T-34 alive, and now with no more Zooks in the forest, I think Orc kind of smells this and is starting to push a bit heavier to clear out that forest presence. But as we're seeing up north, those Hellcats are literally zipping on by to try and deal with this push. But the main thing is that Orc, he's been playing to the Polish strengths like perfectly. He hasn't been engaging in any long-range battles. It's all been close-range knife fights. And if you give a Poles a knife, they can be pretty bloody deadly. Yeah.
Oh, I was thinking making it into a spear, Polish lancers, but yeah.
Oh yeah, give them some rings and send them down a hill, and they have a bit of a fun time.
Exactly. At that point, if you are an Ottoman, well, you're gonna find yourself turned into a carpet pretty quickly. Down to the south, you have a push of light cavalry tanks. But, again, we've talked about this. I think this is the right call, sticking into the center or an entire platoon of them. Because, despite the fact that they're going to get absolutely butt-sexed by the T-34E, if you stick enough Stuarts in an area, you might be able to outflank it. It's one of those 4 of 1 kills one of another kind of moments here.
Yeah, I just think with, Stuarts are just not that much of a rifle tank to take, especially in this sort of matchup, just because those T-34s, the Stuart is only, what? Oh, it is actually quite a bit cheaper. The T-34 is for the 55-point runs, and not the 45-point T-34s, so, yeah. But we've seen 2 IL-2s coming in up north, run for clusters, run for high explosives. I think both are going to get their load off.
And one Sherman goes down.
And the Hellcat actually survived, because that was a rather big miss, from the IL-2. I do like how we do have all this anti-aircraft fire. Anti-aircraft, it's 50 cal machine guns on top of the tanks. They're almost completely stressing out one IL-2, so not too bad.
Oof. Hellcat down.
Yeah.
And we are going back to basics, as we just also discover that, guys, you do not drive on a road when your tanks have you zeroed.
Yeah. We've seen the T-34s on the northern road here. They're in a good spot to get close, and the Hellcat doesn't like T-34's close tree. It needs a little bit of distance, and it's not going to be ideal for that American muscle of a tank destroyer.
That's true, but there's Sherman takes both T-34s in the flank, and well done there. Oh. Hellcat did die in the meantime, but that was more a consequence of the PTRDs.
Yeah. We got a one Abdomen cheeky squad up north trying to get the grenade on the Sherman, but he is going to back off. Smart move here. And that one range marauder all alone. Bro, he's going to meet his brothers very soon after that machine gun fire hits him in the face.
So we got, it's a 2-pack of Hellcats? Yes, 2-pack of Hellcats to the north. The lungs are going to be taken back. Here we go.
Oh yeah. The Stuarts coming in. They still have that one T-34, but I mean, this Stuart should be able to kill T-34s.
Watch, unless there's like a PTRD one-shot kill.
Oh, the machine gun fire. But the problem is he's engaging with like 2 Stuarts at a time.
Yeah.
So it's...
Yep.
Yeah.
So he's missing an opportunity here.
I did like he dropped some smoke here to save his DP squad here, and... Yeah, 2-star T-34 mans at close range, not... Oh, the bazooka!
Zook's up.
This is... He's sending in all those Stuarts just to get a single bazooka shot. But it worked.
And really, when it comes right down to the Stuarts, like you said, that's not the killer here.
Yeah.
The killer are the bazookas. And down south, we had the off-map being called on in, so it's a 203, and those disheartened troops are probably going to have their hearts broken just a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah, probably not going to enjoy it. But even then, I mean, instead of lovely off-map strikes, due to how dense the target area is, I don't know how AS is going to be able to follow up unless he decides to risk it by rushing up a Sherman. But I don't think he's going to do that, because that would be a little bit costly if he loses it.
It will be costly, but we're seeing up to the north just more and more airstrikes just being called in, and I kind of like this, actually. We saw this in another replay recently. T-34 going down, so another Sherman gets aggressive, and another Sherman T-34 going down. So the T-34s, you know, the Poles don't really get that many of them. I mean, just comparative to what is possible, but
yeah, you're right.
Yeah, you take out the T-34s, they start to really hurt if you take out the T-34s.
Don't have well, to be fair, both sides don't have a whole lot of tanks. That's due to the fact they've gone with Maverick income, so it's B-phase or bust, baby. But it's going to be enough, I think, to keep him through this match, because also AS doesn't have a whole lot of Sherman, so he does have, you know, the tank destroyers to back him up a bit.
He does. And indeed, we are seeing an M10 down to the south go down to engaging 3 T-34s for a considerable length of time. But you see this. We're actually seeing a, you know, off-maps going down to the south. Okay, Ordfrine von Alstadt over here is going to throw another 6 squads down there. So maybe, just maybe, he's trying to draw strength away? I don't know.
I like how he's bringing an NKVD dude to try to buff up his disheartened troops here.
True.
Yeah. Gonna be a small little blocking detachment. Comes the IL-2. It's, I think he's just gonna try and bomb that machine gun. It's not a bad call. Machine guns are a little bit nicer now. And yeah, here we go. And the IL-2s have been like, I mean, of course, his pose have been pretty deadly just due to the constant attack runs, but I feel like AS, he does need to get some anti-air out to try and deter these planes.
It's not like he doesn't have it.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. He doesn't have it. He's got just a couple of Bofors.
Literally
I think
2.
Doesn't. Yeah, I think for me, I was looking at that. I was thinking to myself that he doesn't have it being the potential for it. Let's say.
Yeah, it's actually quite risky. Taking such little, and even not having any proper fighters in the Indigenous division. It's like, yeah, that's gonna really hurt him against the Poles in this matchup due to those IL-2 attacks.
Well, the First People's Brigade, which makes it sound like something vaguely communist, is gonna have to fight through the lungs yet again, as a new rush of blood is moving from east to west here. 3 Strelky squads, 2 T-34s, and practically a partridge in a pear tree. Everything is storming across that, and I don't think he can stop them.
Yeah. Yeah, this is getting pretty gnarly, that's for sure.
Oh no, IL-2 to the north, going after the Hellcat, and the Hellcat's not paying attention. That's definitely a head-to Hellcat, yeah.
Yeah.
P-47 might get a kill on this. I put might in a rather hefty doubt moment here, just because of how ridiculously durable those stinking planes are.
Yeah. And also, the problem with the P-47s is that You know, it's not the most maneuverable aircraft. Once it gets behind something, it usually kills it, but as you can see, if it's long turn radius, yeah, the IL-2 can just zip on by.
Which is a weird thing to see an IL-2 do, because it's not exactly what you expect of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the lung position here from Orta is still going pretty strong, managing to reinforce it with more T-34s, and as you can see in the close-range knife fight, Poe's just do absolutely lovely. The infantry can't do anything, he has no bazookas nearby. Once again, he could bring in Sherman to try and fight, but that's only going to be an even matchup, it's not a guaranteed kill.
Conde de Dios. The basics down to the south as Carney troops. Like you said before, those triple DPs, I never really appreciated how ridiculously over the top those things are.
Yeah, it's just a whole lot of firepower in those squads. They are rather expensive squads, to be fair, at 35 points, but you do definitely get your money's worth, especially when you're just fighting against the Americans, which don't have a whole lot of great long-range firepower. They only have bar machine guns. They need to get within that 500-meter range to start making use of their semi-autos. Which they are in range.
Nukes.
Yeah,
it's tactical nuke, though. I mean, yeah.
Must have got that 25 kill streak.
Oh, well, that P-47 certainly got it.
Yeah.
Now, the Hellcat I'm a little bit terrified for, for him. And, yeah, I was right to be, because those stroke keys just immediately take him out.
Yeah, it was a good bombing run,
gosh.
yo.
Your Hellcats are not meant to be thrown away. You gotta move them back.
Yeah.
You're lucky getting a bailout there. He truly got bailed out by RNGesus. In the meantime, though, so...
Yeah, southern push is going pretty well here from AS. He's very close to capturing another flag, at least, to bring it to an 11-13. Or actually a 12-12 now, if he can actually capture it here. But the IL-2s are going to keep coming in. And it's really down to these 3 rifle squads leading the front. And now, but all of them being pinned down, I think that's going to stop outputs for the time being. Yeah, the Hellcat.
Su-85 kills him, yep.
Yeah.
To the north, by the way, we do have another 203 that's been called in. And there's one early rifle squad who wishes he was probably a little bit later. As these shells are going to come down. And this is a T-70s backed up by an Su-85 and Su-76. So, first of all, not likely to see a lot of suppression here. Yeah, the first shell drops on his own troops.
Of course.
Jeez.
Yeah, Ort just has a... He's, like I've said before, he's really playing to his division's advantage by, like, northern areas, close quarters, the central areas, forcing close quarters down south. It's going a little bit tipsy for him as AS is actually making some pretty decent progress, but as you can see, he's really stretched the limit here of his frontline units. The Hellcat going down, he just has a few rifles out in the field, and the Poes are bringing in some Superiors of some rocking flamethrowers to try and burn them out.
I think the lung position is going to slowly start turning red again. It's cost them a fair chunk of lives here.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to see at least the engineer squad get picked off, because none of these guys are mutually supporting positions either. And I think that's the other thing that we've been kind of seeing. The second first peoples, well, they're getting isolated. There's a lot of 2-on-1s and 3-on-1s, and I don't care who you are, mono on mono only works when you're going on a second date. Like, you don't want to have all these mono on mono fights if you're in this game. Like, you gotta up the ante. Pull those 7 Stuarts in at the same time. Don't send a Stuart against a T-34. You're gonna see the Stuart go home in a pine box.
Yeah, and as you can see, he finally brings in the half tracks to bring out some firepower, and he can actually clear out the Polish infantry here. And yeah, it's just like micro issue of not bringing all his firepower to bear against enemy targets. You just have a bunch of guys sitting around twiddling their thumbs, not actually helping out and shooting the bloody bastards.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Now up north, it seems like it's going to completely collapse. You've got, well, Bazooka knocks out T-70, which is nice, but There's a whole lot of angry poles here still, and only some basics to reinforce the line.
True, but tactical nuke. It's starves momentum for half a second, so
Yeah.
that's not terrible.
I'd be pretty startled if someone dropped like almost 1,000 kilograms of bombs near my position. It'd make me reconsider my life.
I think I feel honored for half a second, and then I would think to myself, why do I feel honored? I'm getting into cover.
Yeah. I can think about the honor later.
Yeah, it's true. IL-2 coming back in, and here's the kind of thing that's been happening. The IL-2s have basically been able to have full reign over the sky. Another M10 goes down. There's a Rhino to the south, but I don't be feeling particularly sanguine if I'm the Rhino.
Yeah, he's pretty heavily outgunned down south. Well, actually not so heavily outgunned. There's only 2 T-34s. The SU-85 is dead, so... I mean, it's going to be a pretty nasty unit to deal with, but of course, all it takes is an IL-2 cluster bomber, or an IL-2 heavy bomber to just knock out the Rhino for a bit.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, the Pole's doing a very good job with the air power. I mean, he's fighting the knife fight with the ground targets, but he's really using his air power to fight those long-range engagements, which you necessarily wouldn't want to do with your T-34s and other ground units here.
I would say this is amusing, but it's probably much less so for the 1st People's Brigade. In both the replays this week, we've seen some very unique applications and strategies. Like, this is not a Polish division that we're used to seeing. We're used to seeing that kind of like, oh, okay.
This is pretty standard. I'm gonna have to like back you up on that one.
That's fine. For some reason, I'm trying to call this to mind, and maybe I'm thinking of the other Poles from the old version of it. I always feel like a lot of Poles just kind of put their head down and just kind of bowl forward, just like trusting that eventually their numbers are going to win out. That they play very Soviet-style attacks. But maybe this is just what the Polish division is meant to be in its much more pure form.
Yeah, this is a very good map because he can engage in those close quarters positions. And yeah, it's pretty much it. Poles and Slutsk, it's not a good time. Poles here or Orsa North, as you can see, it works out pretty nicely. But also, it's the second First Nation is just not. It's not that great of a division, I really think. The infantry is pretty lackluster, mainly just due to the lack of anti-tank, which has really been screwing him over. But also just in terms of how AS has specifically built his deck with not enough anti-air or airplanes to try and shoot down the onslaught of IL-2s. That's something he could definitely fix with his deck with, you know, good old Gabby. He does have, I mean, to be fair, the P-38s and the P-47s can still act as fighter bombers, that's what they are, but they're not as great compared to the dedicated fighter. You always want to have at least, I think, one dedicated fighter in a 1v1 deck, preferably 2 in my mind, but that just comes down to personal opinion.
That's true, but you want a lover, you want a fighter, and then you want a joker and a smoker. So yeah, I got you.
But not a smoker in the lungs.
No. There's been plenty of smoking in the lungs today, though. You can see the corpses of many a tank and vehicle over there. Smoky Squad, in the meantime, going to get dropped right behind this Rhino, and this is going to be awful.
Oh, only has...
That's how you hunt a Rhino.
Did he... Was that the T-34 killed it?
Nope.
Oh, no. Oh, wow.
It was the PTR.
How does that even... Okay.
Well, think about the penetration.
No, it's like only 35 mil pen. That's what I'm saying. It's like... I think maybe he got a side shot, technically, which could still, but... Yeah.
Well,
nonetheless, he's dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's still dead, to be fair.
I think it's fairly safe to say that this is going to go over here to von Ottostadt, which is good. Very good. Congratulations to him. He's been playing this matchup the way he should be playing it.
Yeah, this is, like, perfect standard Polish, first Polish infantry play. It's the reason we've seen them a lot in 1v1s is because they are a very strong division in the right map, such as this. Because infantry is on point, the T-34s are on point, the IL-2s are just on the point, blowing everything up. it's pretty good.
And I will say the Poles are definitely a snowball division.
Yeah,
Down to the south, he was able to take that early position and was able to throw enough troops in there that really there was never going to be any doubt of the outcome of this. And
that's a very good point.
I think so. I mean, like, how many times did we say it already? The second First Peoples doesn't really have. Well, maybe we'll go back to normal after this. Who knows? But the second First Peoples doesn't really have the ability to take and hold. They're more. I don't want to say a skirmish division per se, but they're almost a light division by design. You don't take them and throw them into a grinding fight. They don't work that well that way.
Yeah, it's a weird division because at close range, I mean, you do have the Shermans, which is nice, but I really think the lack of infantry AT really screws you over, especially in a matchup like that where T-34s at close range are essentially an armored infantry unit. But yeah, KD is actually really close. I was not expecting that.
A lot of that comes down to the whole idea of those airplanes, I think, being just effective enough to keep them at range. But look at this T-34. This is the guy that was in the lung. But Niki.
Holy crap.
3, 4, what was that? 10 kills just to him.
What the That's so, really effective.
So, to be fair, the T-30s were donated at the beginning. And at least 2 of those stewards were donated later on. So I would argue he probably deserves about half those kills. But still an extremely well-placed tank.
I'd be a little bit more generous in his deservedness, but like, wow, not even if only like 5 kills or whatever. That's impressive. Just a standard boring T-34 with not much bells or whistles.
4 kills with Tamaj. And other than that, I mean, you know, a couple kills with IL-2 cluster. You got 2 Hellcat, 2 tank destroyers and a Sherman. And solid successes. Other than that, Budniki, a couple of small minor standouts. Bailey over here, Ranger Marauders, did pretty well. A couple of half tracks. The Shermans, I think, the issue with this, the Shermans didn't really pull their weight. And
no.
And the unfortunate thing is they were just outmatched the entire way through.
Yeah, just... I don't know, it's funny, like, the T-34 versus Sherman matchup, because, yeah, I think the T-34s against the A1s do have actually an advantage, because they have a 100mm pen compared to the 90mm of the Sherman, which is just enough to tip things over, and both have the same armor value, I believe, so... Yeah, and also just Harry was deploying the T-34s, getting them in close, while the Shermans... It's a mostly even fight with the T-34s between both, but... As we saw, yeah, I mean, the lack of infantry AT backing up with second First Nations is pretty difficult. I also, you know, with the second, like, good mortar play is, I think, extremely vital. I mean, if you're not using those 60mm mortars, I think you're really missing out. Because, my god, they can be very deadly at just pinning down enemy units extremely quickly.
Yes.
And they have radios. Like, if you're... Like, I understand people not taking regular mortars because they don't have the radios, but when your standard foot slogging mortars has accurate long-range fire, and all your dudes also have radios, like your recon and whatnot, then I do think you're missing out, yeah.
Yeah. But regardless, well done over here to Von Alstadt. Unfortunate over here to AS, but at the same time, we will be seeing more of both of them, I have very little doubt. Folks, in the meantime, again, this was the second charity tournament. We're going to have actually a link below the videos if you want to contribute. Rank, what's the name of the charity one more time, please?
Action Against Hunger, if I recall.
I won't say that I have had too much experience with that. I have gone through some minor hunger issues every now and again. Guys, it's a great charity. Please check it out. If you can give any kind of donation towards it, all the money does go to a good cause. Actually, I promise you right now, actually, I'll donate this week myself. But Rang, any final thoughts about the match here or anything otherwise?
No, just check out the charity and yeah. Thanks for hosting this tournament, guys. It's been pretty great.
We have one of the best communities out there, man. So, guys, until next week, though, I'm Con Ulrich.
I'm Rangaroo. Take it easy.